You're listening to LA Talk Radio.
You're listening to Abracadabra, Create What You Speak, with iLan Azoulai, only on LA Talk Radio.
Hello, welcome to Abracadabra, Create What You Speak. I'm iLan Azoulai. I'm a spiritual mentor, a sound therapist, and a guide for you who are ready to reclaim your power, show your powers to yourself and to the world, and all with love and no fear. This program is an empowerment program where I bring spiritualists, scientists, musicians, artists, anybody who is at their gifts and using their gifts to serve others. And it's really for you. And if you are here, you have to be here. That's why you are here. My guest today, I'm excited to host her. It's the second time I'm hosting her on the program. Last program was on Spiritual Yada podcast. And it's Sharry Edwards. Sharry Edwards is the pioneer of Human BioAcoustics. She has a master's in education and she's a researcher, but she's an educator first, as she would say. She's named the Scientist of the Year in 2001 for her work in bioacoustic biology. And what is bioacoustics? I want to bring Sharry in and she will share this with us. So hi Sharry, how are you?
Thank you for allowing me to be here. This is awesome.
It's an honor for me. It's an honor for me, and I hope for everybody who is listening after they hear to this program, because you are a godsend. You are a pioneer in this understanding that esoteric concepts and science, they come together. Many times for ages, science have been science and faith, or how you want to put it, we've been like butting heads, but I want to bring this today as another example of how, on the contrary, faith and science and spirituality, they go all hand in hand.
I have a solution for that, sorta, because I speak to lots of doctors, 500,000 people at a time. And my first comment to these people are, if you do not have an energy body, would you please leave? They sit there because they know they have to demonstrate their energy body to get up and leave. So it makes them think right off the bat, now I am energy. And how is that conducive to my life and what I want to be and where I want to be?
Wow, amazing. Well, the energy is everything. God is energy. We just spoke about it earlier. God is energy, and everything is in everything that we do. Everything that we do is energy. Sharry, could you please explain to the listeners about bioacoustics and what do you do and how? And you have a unique gift that you were not born with it, right? You received it around the age of 6, you said?
Well, we really don't know where it came from. We know when it was awakened.
Interesting distinction. Interesting.
A couple of different ways. I also had a near drowning experience right around the same time. And there is an organ in my ear that got activated. It's called a sacculus, and dolphins have it. And I sometimes have trouble telling which way's up, especially if I'm...
Like a vertigo?
Not really side to side. It's like going downhill at a really steep angle and swerving. I can't tell which way is up.
Oh,
so
wow.
Is it that sacculus? Was it the UFO experience? We don't know where it came from. Well, it messes up my ability to tell which way is up. It's like a dolphin has this activated so it can tell underwater which way is up. And I sometimes have trouble with that, especially driving fast, going on curves and moving in really sharp angles. I cannot tell which way is up. It's really scary. The first time it happened, I had to hold on to the carpet in our RV to have something against my body because I couldn't tell where I was in space.
And that's because you were seeing. So if you wouldn't have your eyes open, would you still have that feeling, you think?
yes, the world would be spinning.
Wow. Well, and you're talking about the ears. It's interesting because really, within the ears, it's what we keep our balance, right? We have our balancing uh, in our ear, and we have in comparison, for example, to dogs. Dogs have 18 different muscles and 18 different sensors in their ears. That's what I that's what I learned, and so and we have two, I think one in each ear or two in each ear, I'm not sure, but this is fascinating. And that started after your experience, uh, when you were 6.
I really don't know. I just can't remember. I just
Hmm.
know the effects of it. But you're talking about the ear. The ear creates something called an oto ear acoustic emission. Now, there's a guy named Cohen who's done a lot of studies with the ear, and this sound cannot be from just the distance or the diameter of the ear, but we can train people to hear the sound that the ear, they say, the ear makes. But I think it's really from the brain. And we have an article, if you can moan, you can tone, because listening to that sound puts you in touch with other dimensions, the sound stream, and you can program yourself there. I think that is the vocabulary of God, and that's how we touch into it. So we
Wow.
teach people to listen to this sound so they can program. You said we're here because your your words create your surrounding, your reality. What did you say? We create what we speak. Then,
Abracadabra, that's right, creating what we speak.
if you look at some of my vocal prints, I create pictures with my voice. And I think people have just forgot how to do that. But before I do it, I must listen to the sound in my ear. And so I think that's a way to touch the language of God. We had a lady that was in a coma and nobody could figure out what was wrong with her. I said, send me a picture and I'll do a sound and see. And it ended up being a spine with a dark line through the spine. I said, did anybody check to see if she's bleeding in her spine? And she was. That was what was the
Wow.
matter. But my voice created that picture. And I think because I listen to that signature sound or God sound, I think that touches me to every other energy in the universe. I think that's where psychic ability happens. I think each of us are a cell in the universe, in God universe. Because think about when the old literature says God is omnipotent and God is omnipresent. That's the only way I can tolerate what's going on in our world today with all of this fighting and bickering. If people
Yes.
realize that this energy, that if they're fighting with one another, it's like fighting with a cell inside their own being. So I'm interested in helping people tap in
That's
to that,
amazing.
to that sound core.
Yeah, that's amazing. For you who are joining right now, we have a guest. I have a guest, Sharry Edwards. She's a pioneer of bioacoustics, human bioacoustics. She's from Ohio Sound Health Institute, and it's basically to support the work, and not to support, but to reinforce the work of healing through frequencies and sound, and the tools that we use to heal through frequencies and sound, and that the body is actually its own self-sustaining um, machine, if you will. I hate
Yes,
to call it a machine because it's kind of desensitizes everything.
universe. But what you just
Universe.
said, we run on frequency, and what we've been able to create bioacoustics, life sounds, and it comes in several layers. What we've been able to create is like you take your car in and get it fixed and it hooks it into a little electric thing and it says, oh, well, your carburetor is this and your blah, blah is this. We found a way to do that through your voice. only through voice out, sound in, that dual communication protocol. We don't know yet. The eyes may give off light, but they certainly receive light. What other part of your system does that? Skin doesn't give off feeling, but you can feel your skin.
We have smell. We have a scent.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's like 60,000 cycles per second. And you identify, okay, that's cinnamon. I made that up. But what we do is take your vocal print, look at it under a microscope kind of thing that we built, and we can tell what sounds are there and are supposed to be there and match everything else. And what are the sour notes in your frequencies? We just had a lady that had bad eczema, and they were trying to treat her skin. And when we looked at her vocal print, she was radiation poisoned. So the computer told us, well, what we created as a computer. And then we give back those frequencies and the body heals itself.
That's amazing. I mean, there's so many, you're talking about this and so many things are coming up. First of all, Abracadabra. I work with, my focus is voice, is what we speak, what we say. It's not enough only the words that we say, but what's important is the intention behind it, because just like in the class, I took the bioacoustic engineer class, certified in there. And what is interesting is that that we don't hear, and this is another question I wanted to ask you, is that trauma, as you said, is affects certain frequencies that we may not hear in our voice. And so when I say something, or when I say something, I talk about a certain issue, and I have some kind of still an emotional attachment or an emotional unhealed place to that instance, right? So my voice will reflect certain frequencies that are missing. It will reflect the pain or the trauma, if it wasn't healed, through the voice. Now, speaking with you like this, somebody may not notice it, but the computer is, the program is taking the frequencies and finding all those missing parts, or parts that are overextended. Let's say I'm trying to overcome something by saying something in a way that is eccentric, for example. So,
even there's two books, the Second Coming of Christ and the Bible. And Luke, I think it's Luke 6:45. It says that you can hide your voice, you can try to hide your voice, but what's coming from your heart really is reflected by your voice. And here's a couple surprising things. Are you familiar with Kim Jong-un from Korea?
yeah, for sure.
Korea.
Yeah, not personally, but I
Known to be a dictator and a murderer. His voice is almost identical to Nancy Pelosi. Now, knowing that piece of information, and we've been taught that through religion and down through the ages, we can then see what Nancy Pelosi is really trying to hide, because Kim Jong-un is just saying it out there. He's the dictator. He gets to say what he wants. But you see with somebody like Nancy Pelosi, she's hiding, but the voice told on her.
She's probably not aware of it even.
No, you can lie with your words, but you can't lie with the sound of your voice.
So is that was where I talk about an abracadabra, create what you speak. Is that the intention that comes through it? So how would somebody that was trained, let's say, to a lie detector, because isn't a lie detector finding similar things or in a different way?
Not from the voice, from galvanic skin response, that you sweat if you lie and things like that. Your skin manifests a reaction, and that's what they pick up.
I see. Yeah. So this is the intention behind the words. When I tell my clients to intentionalize and to think and to create, getting up in the morning where it's almost like an ocean that is a flat ocean, you know, in the morning when everything is still quiet. It's the place to intentionalize where I want to be and to imagine, to live that moment as if that is already here, and to say it out loud so I can hear it back, you know.
Yes, we have created a computer program called Nano Voice, Nano. We put it, I think, in the early 90s. And we asked, we originally gave it away and then people started selling it. And so then we started putting a code on it so they couldn't sell it. But now you look at Amazon, they filed a patent on it, on what your voice means.
That's right. They took out a bracelet. They have a bracelet, and I don't want to give any commercial to that, but they took out a bracelet. It tells you how you feel, what is missing, just based on your voice.
Yes, and we put this in the public domain in the early 90s, so nobody could patent it, because if you put it out there without a patent, other people can use it freely. And so they're trying to capitalize on that. We are writing our own patent in a different way. But the Nano Voice, you can talk to it. It'll tell you about your perfect mate. It'll tell you who's lying. It'll tell you if you're lying. It'll tell you if you want this decision, you want to go out with that guy or this person, you want to take this job or that job. Because I think knowing the truth allows you to make better decisions.
Wow. It's amazing. Isn't the sentence that you have, you know, the more society shifts away from truth, the more it will hate those who speak it, right? It was George Orwell. And it's really what's happening now. And so basically this it's kind of like my own this ability to be able to be in this place and to find those frequencies, what works and what doesn't work. It's like my own future teller kind of thing.
Yes.
And this is what we have. We have this ability to reharmonize ourselves with Earth, because I believe we came here in complete harmony. We got a complete harmony of Earth. We have all the plants, all the herbs. I work with herbs as well. We have everything, and we are the cacophony. We created that mess with all that we are. Last time we talked about Hebrew, your connection to Hebrew.
Oh. I've not done anything with that yet because I got COVID. I got over it with the sounds, but I was down for a few days, not feeling like doing much.
Oh, wow. And was that after the interview we've done?
Yes.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. And you're feeling good now?
I'm feeling good.
That's wonderful. So you did frequencies?
I did, and we have them available for people if they want. It takes away the symptoms. It helps with the fatigue. And I got that bad kind where it was digestive.
Uh-huh.
And I couldn't keep anything down. And it helped with that.
So did you use the Lucille song?
I did. And I also have another set that's in a tone box. It's much more potent. And
so
then songs too are up on our site for people to download.
So the tone box is omitting frequencies or songs that have underlining frequencies?
It's just frequencies to entrain your brain.
Oh, that's amazing.
We're all energy.
Yeah.
Like, I think everything with energy in one pot, that to me is God.
Everything what? I'm sorry?
Is God. If you put everything that has energy in one place, that's God to me.
That's absolutely right. You know, it's so fascinating because, you know, we tend to look traditionally or culturally tend to look to the sky when we want to talk to God. But actually, God is where we are, where we sit. God is in the table. God is in this mic. Because you know, God is, like you said, God is energy and God is everywhere. So it's really a training. It's really a training of the. And you said last time, very interesting, that if people will accept that everything is will accept that the healing with math and energy, then the creator will reveal itself, himself, or however you relate.
My tongue's feeling a bit swollen. I don't know why. So I'm putting some sound on for it.
Please put, what are you putting on?
D sharp and A together.
D sharp and A. So D sharp.
Under here that controls your tongue.
So is that D sharp or A for that?
It's a combination. When you combine the notes, it gives you a lower frequency. If I wanted to do 4, we couldn't hear it, but I could do 12 and 16 and get 4.
12 and 16, I want to explain for whoever is watching. 12 and 16 meaning what?
Just a number. 12 would be a G and 24 is a G.
So when you're talking about a G, about notes, you're talking from a math standpoint or from a musical standpoint?
It's both. The math is turned into music when you relate it to an instrument.
That's true, because if I say 9, for example, if I'm starting an octave at C and I'm saying 9, C9, I know it's a D, right? Yes. And then 10 is an E, 11, F, and 12. Yeah. Interesting. What you're saying is reminding me of what I wanted to mention last time we were on the call, of the work I do with binaural beats. And I use that with the bowls, because the bowls are creating certain frequencies and overtones, the sound bowls. But what I noticed is, since I was young, is that if I put a frequency in one ear and a frequency in another ear, let's say I want to reach a theta state frequency, which I think is between 4 and 9 hertz, and I cannot hear below 20 hertz. So I would put 200 on one ear and 204, 205 in the other ear, and the brain automatically creates the interval of those.
Yeah, you need to be careful. That works very well for right-brained people. But for left-brained people, unless the 4 divides equally into 200 and 204, you'll have a leftover sound.
And the leftover sound can create something different. Interesting.
But right-brained people don't mind it. Left-brained people get wigged out by it.
Yeah, is that where they're getting those sounds or frequencies that they cannot hear, they cannot process? Because
it agitates them.
That's right. So how would you explain when I play music, for example, G diminished or half diminished, where it plays the A sharp, and sometimes I would play the C sharp as well, or because I read that you are talking about certain notes not to play together, like A sharp and G sharp. But if I'm playing a certain minor chord that has a 7, both the A sharp and the G sharp, or B flat and A flat, are being played at the same time.
I am musically ignorant, so what you're saying to me is just...
It's not...
I only know the numbers.
Interesting.
Okay, let me put that in numbers for you and see if we can find a mutual space.
Interesting.
If we start with C, 6 notes away is an F sharp.
6, counting the half tones.
Well, we do
C sharp, D sharp, yes. E, F, yes.
So if we have F sharp, 1 back mathematically is F. 1 up, which is this, 1's a 5th and 1's a 7th. So if we start with C, there's 3 notes that will counter it. F, F sharp, and G. The math of it, depending on what you want, a physical reaction, an emotional reaction, a past reaction, a future reaction. So see it as a circle. The C is at the top. 6 notes away is the F sharp. 1 jump ahead is the G, and 1 jump back is the F. That's the math for me.
I see.
I went to a 4-room schoolhouse. We didn't have music. So I am musically left out. I only know the math, and I know what sounds good. But if I had to create music,
So
I
C and F sharp, how do you look at that interval? Because in music, it's the most dissonance interval. It's like the sound that the ambulances in Europe are doing.
if
Da,
you
da, da, da. Doing all this.
if
So
you
it's,
take the note of C as math and multiply it by the square root of 2, you'll get F sharp. It's how notes cancel each other out in noise canceling headsets.
interesting, fascinating, just fascinating.
Just math for me.
Yeah, no, that's fascinating. It's interesting how we come to the same, to a similar conclusion or similar thing, but just from a different river. You come from this river and come from this river, and music and math, because music is math.
Yes, absolutely. It's
Music
all
is math.
energy too.
I'm sorry?
It really equals energy. That we are
Amazing.
energy beings, and so we respond to energy music.
Yeah, wow, amazing, amazing. So,
I have a personal belief about that.
yes, please.
That the gods or God has access to all knowledge in every event, but it's only the humans that come down or through or where we come from that experience new things that allows new learning. So the gods are just as jealous of us as we are of them. They have all the knowledge, but we have the ability to make new knowledge.
It's fascinating. You know how we're talking about similar things just in different language. It's like, what is more perfect, God's creation or man's creation? Right? God puts us here in a potential. It's perfect. We are in a potential, and we can make it greater or more to its full extent. It's like we can't just take barley and just eat it to make beer. We have to process it so it's in the potential, and it's fascinating. I personally believe that anything in this physical realm has a spiritual reason and cause.
Yes, it's
Everything's. I'm sorry.
what we do about it that makes a difference.
Yeah,
But
and
that's my personal belief.
yeah,
I also believe that if something's going to happen and I do everything I can do to help or hinder, a human's problem is they fight against that.
yeah, that's right.
And so that causes chaos. The trick is to do everything that you can possibly do to help or hinder, and then accept with grace. Because I don't think the universe creates anything that wasn't supposed to be here.
That's right.
It's what we do about it that makes a difference.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's what the name of God. One of the names of God. There are four letters in Hebrew. It's the 10th letter, the 5th letter, the 6th letter, and the 5th letter of Hebrew. Okay, the name of God. Uh, uh, you call it in English. I don't want to repeat that, but it's the 10th letter Yud, and then Hey, and then Vav, and then Hey. And in this four letters name, there are three concepts: was, is, will be. Yeh, haya, vehoveh. Okay, in those concepts. So basically, what will be already happened.
Look at the Bible code. It's
Yes.
all in there and what
Yeah.
was going on. Somebody sent me my name in the Bible code. We were talking
Interesting.
about it on a show once, and when things come to me and I can't make it happen, but there's a word that comes with it, and it's a word that's bigger than the world when you say it.
Mm.
If I said it in English, it would be something like ayah. Does that mean anything to you in the Hebrew?
So this is, I think that this is referring to the name that I was speaking about. I think because it sounds like it. I don't want to repeat that. Just I don't believe that this can be just repeated loosely. But
You can cut that part out if you want.
yeah.
I will sing it to you after the show because it's very powerful.
Okay.
And when I ask, where does this knowledge come from? That's the word that comes to me.
Wow, interesting. There are several names of the create. Look, the world was created with 10 utterances. We see that. What is the first sentence that God said when he walked into the room? He said, let it be light. It's like chemistry. He took the letter Aleph of light, the letter Vav of light, the letter Resh, and combined them, and they created that light, not the sunlight, but the light that we are referring to as the infinite light. We can talk about this for forever. I want for the people that are watching. Sharry has the gift of healing people through frequencies in her voice, and she over the years created computer programs that are basically taking voice profiling, profiling of the voice, and in the voice we can discover what is wrong or what is off kilt, spiritually, physically, and really anything that has to do with our human body. And that also provides healing through frequencies, through sound, music, and what the body is needing as far as mineral, enzymes, and so forth. And so this is really fascinating. Sharry, if we can go please to the beginning, to where you started, where it was obvious to you that something has happened within you, where you went through a shift and you knew that something is going on. And then eventually, I know the story with your daughter and you probably shared it so many times, but we would love to hear that from the beginning and again.
Can I share a story about the beginning?
Absolutely. Please.
When my youngest son was conceived, the room filled with white light. And I wanted to know what was going on with that. In the sperm and the egg, ATP is not there, but when they come together, ATP begins to evolve. ATP is the frequency of white light, and we store it in our eyeballs. So when it begins to implode and we begin to die, we see all of this white light. So in the beginning, there was light, is literal biochemistry.
Interesting. Fascinating. Just fascinating. So you think that, so wow, that's fascinating. So when people die and when people are about to die, so they're starting to see that the ATP, the white light, really
begin to implode.
Wow. Fascinating.
It's math. You wanted the story about my daughter?
Well, I wanted the story about when you found that item, that when you went with your friend, you're telling us the story last time where that really kind of things shifted and you found yourself levitating.
I found myself being able to do things that other humans could not. And from then was able to hear things, speak things that I didn't know if they were true, but once I spoke them, they became true. And if I got my own ego involved with it, it didn't come true. But if I just let it flow, and I sort of trace it back to when I was about 5, and my cousin and I were walking up over this great big hill. There was a farm involved in Appalachia, a very hilly farm. And on top of this hill, we came upon this round, silver looking thing, and it had kind of a movie on the side of it, and it was moving. The movie was moving.
What do you mean? There was like a really moving image on that cylinder?
Yeah, like a hologram.
And where did that come? It was just on the cylinder.
It was, about 3/4 of the way up on the side. I recognize it now as a hologram.
Wow.
And we use that hologram now as our logo on our stationery. It's 3 triangles balanced on one triangle, all sharing a third of each other. And when it rotates, it creates an image that we use the math of to help people recreate parts of their body.
Amazing.
And it's the math of the Templar cross. And that's what is helping rejuvenate. In the beginning, we used the numbers out of the Bible, 3, 6, and 9. And now we use the architecture math out of this Maltese cross, that when you rotate this image, and I have somebody build it, when you rotate it, these three triangles and they're made in 3, 6, and 9 relationship. When you rotate it, it ends up being the Maltese cross. And so that's the math that we use now to do things like help the body regenerate itself. We don't do it. We just give the body the math, the frequencies, the energy for it to be done itself.
Wow. Wow. That's fascinating. You know, it brings me, I mean, from the beginning, it brought me to the concept that I work, concepts and faith that I come from Judaism and Kabbalah, working with Kabbalah and the Star of David, or the two triangles that are up and below. And I've seen that grid. I've seen a grid where it was completely with triangles. It was here on one of the mountains in California. I could see the grid, endless grid, almost like the dome in the movie of Newman's, what was his name? Truman's, whatever that movie was.
This image creates a 3-dimensional Star of David in the center.
And wow, yeah.
I'll send you a picture of it.
Yeah, that's the logo. We have this logo now as you are speaking. We have this logo all the time down. The logo from your website. Is that the same logo you're talking about?
Yeah, the blue triangular looking thing. Yes.
The purple blue kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, fascinating.
If you see it in real, like made with sticks, it's a Star of David in the middle.
Yeah, I would love to see that. Yeah, that is something that has always been a like a founding block, like a building block, sorry, of everything that I do and everything that I was taught, and it's amazing. Listen, this is really amazing. I mean, I know from reading and looking at your website and going through your webcast you had last year, aside from Amazon, aside from companies and commercial companies, what about, I mean, if you're talking about like this, about leaders and so forth, how is the government? I mean, isn't the government trying to get you in to do certain things, get you into on their side, or to shush you down, or all these kind of things that you will not speak really who is telling the truth and who's not? Because it's obvious you can lie through your teeth, but it doesn't matter. The math says it all.
Yes, and we did a project for the Army on acoustic blasts. These people that got hit with sound waves and it damaged their brain. And so we did it. We found some commonalities of what was going on. And it was right when Obama was doing that sequestration. So the Army took the information, they didn't pay us, and they gave it to MIT.
Huh.
Now, since then, we've done another project on our own, and this is to all the soldiers out there. When you've been put in a bunker and gassed, and now you have lung problems, we know the way out of that and sound that will help you reconstitute your lungs. So get in touch with us.
Oh, that's fascinating. All the information is here. All the information is down. If you need to contact, you can contact her directly. If there is anything that I can facilitate or help through, this is something that the world needs, because we are at a time where there is the shift, aside from the shift of the patriarchy to the matriarchy, there is a complete energetic shift. And this has been in the last year, actually, during this coronic era, as I call it, has been just elevated. And speaking, so go ahead.
Let's tell them that we have the frequencies that'll back off the symptoms, but we aren't not allowed to claim that. It just is a result. And we have music that we've had created that they can download from our site, soundhealthoptions.com, LaCiel, L-E, I think it's C-I-E-L.
L-E?
And also under In the News, Jill Madsen has done some music that people can download and use. It especially helps the breathing problems. We put out an article a year ago in August about what was going to happen with 5G, and then later what was going to happen with the corona. It has the same effect. It affects your iron. It affects your blood circulation. So we've done several articles about that. Sound Health Options in the News. And we put things up there for people all the time. another thing that I think really shows we are an energy body, soldiers who've gotten their legs blown off and they have phantom limb pain. There's pain where there's no limb. And if we, I am not allowed to say treat, I almost said that. If we use frequency on the muscle where it hurts, the muscle that's not there, it takes away the pain.
Wow.
So we're energy, even if the physical body's not there.
Wow. This is fascinating. This is yeah. So I'm not surprised that the governments will try and take that and interfere, especially now, because we're talking about the Coronic era. I personally believe, and just after I met you, it just solidified what I believe. I believe that the whole mess of creating this virus, mutating it, and the frequencies that are, you said that they are exactly, they match the frequencies of the virus itself. They match, and they are perfect math that they were engineered. I believe that all that, together with the 5G, which is an infrastructure to swim in and to control people, was really in order for people to get the vaccines, or so-called vaccines. I feel that the whole thing was to be able to control people by pushing a vaccine. And how can you do that? You tell them you're sick. Let me heal you.
Fear.
Exactly.
And when, not to knock what you do at all, but when we look at music, it's in a certain range, like 100 to 500.
Yeah.
When we're dealing with the brain, we need to go below 60 cycles per second. And you look at the genetics, you can look at the electricity in the body, the nutrition, the emotions. It's just an octave. And so we break down these octaves and we put them behind normal music, and then it speaks directly to the brain and lets the brain heal itself. That's why we were talking about James Gates.
Yep.
Who's a physicist, and I think he's from Brown. He and his students did a project showing that there is DNA code inside plant DNA, and that code is a correction code for humans. Doesn't that make you think you're a robot?
Fascinating. It's just fascinating.
If somebody has macular degeneration, which is deterioration of the eye, and we can give you a sound and make that blank spot come back into focus with a sound, with a frequency. Doesn't that tell you that your eye is controlled by frequency, by energy?
Yeah, because it rebuilds it, it regenerates.
By our God part. One of the things they're really messing with is critochrome.
Critochrome, that's right.
That is a biochemical in each cell and in the brain, in the eyes also, that keeps you stable depending on where you are on the earth. It's like, here's the earth's axis, and the inner core has to be stable for the earth to do what it needs to do. Well, in you have cells, and those cells must stay stable based on this critochrome relationship to iron, for you to stay a healthy being. And on our other site, our online workstation, soundhealthportal.com, you can go have yourself tested for corona, have yourself tested for gravity if you want to see where you are with this critochrome. There's PTSD, there's biodiet. We try to keep a lot of them up there so you can just blah, 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 and we will send you a report.
That's wonderful.
Send you movies and whatever. But these classes, we give you software, totally great software about your nutrition. And
I have those. That's great.
And it was free, wasn't it?
No, that's the two technician day class that I took. That was a paid class, actually.
So you got all the extras with it.
Yeah, the paid classes where you get all the extras, all the software and the Abacus software and everything. This is in the paid version. In the free version, it is giving you an online analysis. It's not a complete comprehensive, but it's right on the money. It's right there, and there's a lot of information, a lot of researches, articles, case studies. And before we go into the story that you had with your daughter, I wanted to ask you a couple of things. You're saying we need to listen below certain rotations. So if I play, let's say, a certain note in a certain frequency in a lower register, does it have the same effect if it is 10 registers higher?
It has a more potent effect the more low the distance between it. Like we know the sound to put the heart back into rhythm. It's 4 cycles per second. So you can get 4 by 15 and 19. That one doesn't work because 4 won't divide into 15 and 19. You have to use 16 and 20. Then it'll work. But what you want to end up with has to be divisible by what you use to start with.
I see. Now, can you actually, when you speak with somebody, and I'm like, I wonder if she can hear, when you speak with somebody, your ears can hear things that other people cannot hear as well? Or is it the omitting of certain frequencies that is creating the healing? So you can, let's say I'm talking with you now, can you hear parts that are missing or blocks that are there in the voice?
A
With
lot
your
of
ear?
times, yes, but I think people hear it. I think they don't pay attention. Like your sounds are a shade of orange with this bluish pearlescence together. Have you ever seen gasoline in the sunshine on the ground?
Yes. It's like,
That blue pearlescence?
yeah.
That's part of your sound, and it's really a core part of you, but your public part of you is sort of an orange pearlescence, which means you work on 2 or 3 layers at once anytime you're doing anything.
Yeah, that's fascinating. First of all, I really connect to these colors. Sometimes I see colors of people, so that is a color that I would see that, but I would feel it. It's more of a feeling. This is what I wanted to ask you also about colors. I thought about it later, but since it's here, I wanted colors. They go together with sound. I could feel that. It's not about knowing. It's about feeling a certain feeling with a color. Now, color is really reflections of light. It's not the actual color. So how is a reflection of light related to a feeling that is producing a sound?
Well, that's in our literature all over. Feeling green, jealous, feeling blue. And people begin to recognize that. And there's whole books. Carol Reitenberger wrote a really wonderful book about color. She wrote her book and I did computer programs. We were writing them at the same time and they're almost identical. What's in her book is in my computer program, with one exception. She and I exchange blue and orange differently.
You exchange blue and orange differently. How so? How different can blue and I mean the shades of the blue or the shades of the orange?
Yes, well, for instance, orange is a Gemini. And yours is a combination of Gemini, which is D and A sharp, which is Aquarius and Gemini together. That's where you play as you speak. You want to know what makes everything go, but you also want self-approval and you want to help people through what you know to be the truth.
Fascinating. Listen, everybody who is watching, Sharry is a godsend. I tell you, this is amazing. I would like, if you will, please, could you share with everyone the story with your daughter? Because for many years growing up, you kind of pushed yourself. You really didn't reveal this to people because you were rejected.
Yeah. So if I could finish the other story about
Please.
finding this cylinder. The next thing I remember, we were going toward it, and next thing I remember, we're holding hands and we're trying to walk down this trail, down around this hill. And every step we took, we bounced up over the trees, it was like we had no gravity. It was like on the moon.
Wow.
And unhuman. It happened a couple of other times when we got in trouble when somebody was chasing us. But that's when I actively remember knowing things, hearing things from people. And I would say, well, Aunt Georgie said so-and-so. And she'd say, I didn't say it. I just thought it, you little witch. And that's what got me in trouble. So I started taking a class at Ohio University on teaching or learning parapsychology. And a science professor was teaching it. And he taught the first 3 sessions and I taught the rest of it because I could do what he was talking about.
Wow.
He could talk about it. I could do it. And I taught that for like 10 years. I wrote my master's dissertation on it because of this incident. I was teaching the nurses laying on of hands healing, Dolores Krieger stuff, energy movement, Reiki. And my daughter and family was out in this old swimming pool underneath a railroad bridge. And they had a Tarzan swing up on this bank. And they were swinging out and dropping into the deep water. Well, my daughter I don't remember how old she was, 12, 13. She was kind of heavy and she swung out on this rope and couldn't hang on. And she fell about 12 feet into the edge of the water. And when I got to her, her lower leg was hanging off to one side.
Wow.
I dunked her back in the water and took her foot and twisted the foot and jammed it back together and grabbed a t-shirt off of somebody and wrapped it around it. This was before cell phones.
Wow.
And so I knew she was going to die. I saw the ripped off vessels. I saw all the adipose tissue hanging out. And so I thought, if this stuff works, I need it now. And so I knelt beside her and started singing these songs to her. And it's just, it's not words, it's just sounds. I really thought she was going to die, but I sent somebody for help anyway. The ambulance got there. They tried to put her in this basket thing, and they put a cast on her leg. I thought it was funny because they blew up this cast and there was a fly in it. But they weighted her across this water up to their neck, holding on to this basket, trying to get her through this water. And they put her in the back of the ambulance. And so I jumped in my car and followed them. All the time I'm driving, I'm still doing my sounds. I think I was in shock.
Wow.
So we get to the hospital and the nurses take her in the back and they said, okay, Sharry, these are people I had taught. They said, it's okay now. You can quit doing the sounds. And I just kind of slid down the wall.
Wow.
And she started screaming in the back room. She had torn the muscle loose. She had torn the vessels. She had sand down in that pocket that she had torn loose. She was 49 days in the hospital, 3 operations, and they don't know how she didn't bleed to death.
Wow.
My husband and I talked about it, and we said, if we could create some little handheld device that would not allow a child to die in front of their parents.
Wow.
If we could get that on emergency squads, if we could help the universe, then that's what we want to do. And we've just been playing with it before. Now we know the sounds to put hearts into rhythm. We know the sounds to accelerate bone healing. We know sounds to take off fibromyalgia pain. And the one that I'm working on right now is Viagra.
Yeah, you were talking last time that you found the hormone for women, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
We have partial stuff done for men, but I thought about this. We have these sounds for COVID. People won't pay attention. But if we found the sound for sex,
everybody's in line.
yes, they'd jump on the wagon.
Yeah. So yeah, I get you, especially with orange color. So so talking about water, I work a lot with water in certain situations with the sound and with the balls inside the water because the water transmits the sound 7 times faster, right? Or 7 times more intensely.
I
So
think
do
it's
you,
more than that, but we
yeah,
know that it can. Look at Emoto's work, and
Masuro Emoto, yeah.
you can think bad thoughts and it'll turn icky and black. I think water is like the crystals of the earth, and crystals too, in different form. But we have something called a biocharger, and we'll
Mm.
give you the information about how to build one for yourself. And we can charge water. We've done it with iron. We've changed pH of water. There's a lot of things can be done that we haven't explored yet.
Mm.
I think water is alive and I use it every day. I don't want to say I use it. I work with it every day when I take a shower.
Yeah,
Let this day be for the benefit of all concerned. Take all this any junk, send it down the drain for a better use someplace. Clear my being. And
mm.
if I need to contact somebody, put a message in the water and I send it to them. That's kind of crazy, but
No,
it
it's
satisfied me.
crazy is good. Crazy is good. When people tell me you're out of your mind, I tell them thank you. It takes a lifetime. You know,
I
it's
think that's why I started this, just to prove I wasn't schizophrenic because I was hearing things.
it's so fascinating. You know, this really this world is fascinating. Little did I know that I will end up or deeply in sound. Although I started with music when I was very young, but this is really fascinating because we are now at times where really fear is for the most part, fear is what is driving everything.
How
And
many
go ahead.
how many people have you heard go back to your center, go back to God? They're reaching into a place where they can't control, so they're giving up their energy, but they are that power. If they would just do it without prejudice, without wanting their way of what's
That's
going
right.
on. I think there's so much control right now in the Democratic Party. My idea is they're going to turn on each other because once you get control, the greed takes over.
Yeah.
So they'll be turning on one another. Here's another piece of information. You know who AOC is?
ALC,
AOC,
AOC.
Alexandria Ocasio Cortez.
No, Cortez. Yeah.
Yeah, she is a junior congressperson who is pretty blatant in her nastiness.
Yeah.
She said this stuff about control of the stock market, it needs to stop. And Ted Cruz from the other side is a Republican. He said, I'm with you. I'll work with you. And she turned around and said, not this time. You can sit out. Refusing help, being smarmy mouthed. I don't know why she thinks that kind of attitude will work. It's certainly not unity.
Mm.
And that's what it's going to take for us to,
Come
we
together.
all carry luggage. We all
Yes.
carry our own stuff. Don't allow yourself to be divided. And that's a biggie that's happening right now.
Right.
Division and keep us from communicating.
That's right.
So I think that's why people are going inside to God so they can touch what other people are doing because we're all connected.
This is so fascinating. You know, I've been talking about this in Friday talks that I do, and really the core part of the last few months that is just so strong within me is this disconnect and understanding that our power is together. It is not separate, it is not apart, it is together. And those 0 point something percent that are sitting up and controlling everything really don't want a mass of people that understand that, because once they understand that and they internalize it, they're game over.
Think of in Roman times when there were gladiators fighting, they fought to the death.
That's right.
That was pretty savage on its own. But right now, not only are they saying the gladiator must die, but the people in the stands who rooted for him must die.
Wow.
Civility is gone, and that's when people will go back to their own insights, their own touch with God. You're
That's
right.
like a reset button. Let's reset button. I know from my personal journey, it was a reset button. I completely was in such a, it was all about me, me, and him and me. It was always that, and it took a heavy toll. It took a heavy experience, an experience that almost like, it's like sending a zap to all channels at once,
Yeah.
like zip, that reset everything. And it was an excruciating journey, but it's really paid off, so to
With
speak.
that article, and it's if you can moan, you can tone.
Yes.
It shows you how you listen to the sounds, and then you can be in touch with anybody. And with this nano voice, you can tell who's lying to you. Have you heard Biden's press secretary talk, Jen Psaki, SK?
I don't remember. I probably heard that person speak, but I didn't pay attention too much.
She's really tiny. She has red hair, and
Yes,
she's so
yes.
soft spoken. You would think somebody could plow her under in a second. Her voice and AOC's voice are almost identical. They are
Wow.
coming from the same perspective.
Wow.
So we now know what her real personality is. And with AOC's personality, it's control for something physical. The computer will tell you that about your husband, your teachers, your kids, your elected officials. Knowledge is power. And once you know where they are, where they're coming from, what their weak spot is, something we forgot, you
Yes.
have better knowledge of where your place is and what you can do.
This is fascinating. I mean, for you who are watching, Sharry Edwards is a pioneer in bioacoustics. We're talking about how we heal ourselves, how we can heal ourselves with the tools we already have, with the frequencies, and it's the knowledge of how to use that. You can reach out to Sharry. All the information is on the screen. I've been certified in bioacoustic engineering. I'm testing now all this. So if you want to experiment and to talk to me about voice profiling, to see how we can here in the community, please reach out. This is amazing. I mean, people actually will hear this. Some people will say, you know what, I don't want to hear about whether he is lying or she is lying. I mean, it can really create a tear. But like the sentence earlier of Orwell, the more people are away from the truth, they condemn those who speak the truth. And it happens in personal level, and it happens in politics, and it happens in every aspect. Did you have, I mean, aside from the aunt that told you you are a witch for reading her thoughts or listening to her thoughts through the ear emission, right? The ear was emitting and you heard that. Were there other I mean, I'm assuming you probably you had other situations in life where people just rejected you for that?
Yes, and that's why I kept it quiet for so long. In school, if I didn't know the answer to a test, I would ask the professor a question around about, and from what they said to me, I could tell the answer.
So the
So
students wouldn't know.
nope,
Yeah,
they wouldn't be able to tell.
that's great.
But I think you knowing the truth with a capital T gives you the edge in the world. It tells you where you stand, it tells you where your power is and where you can start from.
It's fascinating because there are always three truths when you're talking with two people.
Mhm.
There is yours, mine, and then there is truth. What can you share with us that is something maybe encouraging, maybe something for people to look for as we're nearing this program that went by so fast? I mean, this went by so quickly. What can you share with us, a message? I mean, we are now at times where we're dealing with, should we take vaccines? Should we not vaccines? Is mask really a protecting? Is mask is not protecting? Is he telling the truth? Is not telling the truth? What, I mean, is there something, I mean, I always say, just critically thinking and being in this place of listening to yourself. But it's very difficult for people to do that on their own, or for people to do that just getting up in the morning out of the blue, because TV is blasting with all kind of nonsense.
And oughts and shoulds. I don't want people to take my word for it. Talk to the little nano voice and saying,
There you go.
would a mask be good for me? Your voice will let it out. The computer program will verify it for you. It's a way for us to take back what we really are without everybody shoving things at us. I don't think I would ever take a vaccine. It's just not safe enough.
Yep. Yeah. Same thing here. Now, how about language? It doesn't matter for the language itself if somebody speaks this language or that language, because it's the frequency. It's not it's the underlying of the letters. It's the energy that comes through it.
And you can see with people who come in and speak Spanish saying ABCs and then English saying ABCs, the difference between those two will be what stress is on the body.
Wow. Yes. Fascinating. Well, to all of you who are here, this is Abracadabra, create what you speak, literally and figuratively. And today my guest was Sharry Edwards, pioneer of Human BioAcoustics in the Sound Health Institution in Ohio. And the information is here. Sharry, thank you so much for your wisdom and for the knowledge and for the gifts that you're here to share. I wanted to ask you one more thing. What did you do with that cylinder? Did you keep it?
We tried to go back. It was about 12 feet long. We tried to go back. It was gone. But I later asked Ruth Montgomery about it, because there were some strange things happening to my body, that my eyes would turn different colors, and sometimes my shoe would fit and sometimes it wouldn't. And I read a book by her called Strangers Among Us. Mm-hmm. And I thought, somebody walked out, another guy walked in. And she wrote, Sharry Edwards, when she was 5 years old, and she and her friend found the cigar-shaped cylinder in the woods. We never called it that. But she knew Fletcher, her guide, was speaking through her. Wow. She was a reporter in the Eisenhower era. So she confirmed to me that that was probably alien or other dimensional, I like to think of it, and that the information coming through me, I'm just the radio delivering other dimensional information and try to share it so that we can all be free and walk in the light.
Fascinating. What do you think about the monoliths that have been appearing?
I think they're probably antennas.
Right?
Yes. Yeah. Gobekli Tepe. There's so much that we've lost.
Yeah.
And we forgot to remember.
This is so fascinating. So let's try and remember. Well, try is the negative of doing something. Let's remember. Let's do whatever it takes to remember, because when we are inside all this this mess and this politics and games that are happening, it's hard to remember what is outside. So these are tools. The sound and frequencies are tools to help us remember and to help us come to the center and to come to really what is true.
A word of caution: once you start listening to your own sounds, you will astral project, and it's kind of scary. So read the paper and see what to do.
All the links are here. I'll put the links in the post. Yes. Thank you for this wonderful and wise advice. Thank you, Sharry, so much for being here. It's a pleasure. And I think once the snow is over and the lift is up, I will take a trip to Ohio.
It's great to be able to share. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Irreverent, entertaining, cool. You're listening to LA Talk Radio.
You're listening to Abracadabra, create what you speak, with iLan Azoulai, only